What's good, everybody? It's Memorial Day weekend.
What up?
Thanks for all the support. We've gotten a lot of cool feedback from people out there. We always welcome that. So if you have any thoughts on, I don't know, what we're doing, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
We know you got them scary stories.
Send them in, boys.
We know there are people listening right now
Girls.
who have scary stories.
Yeah, send them in. We want to hear them.
We want to hear them.
We'd also like to share them.
Yeah, so if you send them in, know that we have the intent to turn around and share them. Dude, DJ, you just got back from Jackson Hole, Wyoming?
Yeah.
Jackson's Hole.
How was it?
Jackson's Hole is always nice. It was real beautiful. Essentially, we were planning a trip to go to somewhere warm. We planned Vegas, but then hotel prices spiked up because of Memorial Day weekend.
Makes sense.
So we decided against that, and we're like, let's go to Jackson Hole, which is the opposite of warm. And there was still, like, snow.
Was it pretty cold there?
Nah, actually. Like, it was chilly. Like, I wore a hoodie, but I wasn't freezing. We went hiking, and it was raining, and it was really... I love the rain, so it was really nice. But super beautiful.
Dude, I kind of want to catch up any listeners out there. So we used to record in a cabin up in the woods, and it's up Provo Canyon. It's really beautiful. And off the main highway, you turn right, and you go up this other canyon that gets pretty remote. And that's where Jordan and Sean were living for the entire winter, was in this cabin. So that's where we recorded. But their lease was up, and they moved out, so we had to move to a new place. And Jordan Elmer, actually this time, not a joke, is no longer with us.
R.I.P.
He didn't die. He just moved to Montana for the summer. Yeah, he's looking to further his career, so he might start a master's program.
We wish him luck. He'll be back around in the future, but in the meantime, Charles, Sean, and I will be running this.
Yep.
We have a few guests lined up to come through and share some stories.
Some of the feedback that we've been getting from you guys is you love when we cover like regional stuff, regional folklore and things like that. So we're really looking for people who've actually gone to certain places and lived there. So they can come back and answer all our questions, like, really give us a background history on the people and the culture. So we have some good people set up.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about that, I wanted to ask you guys, what is the scariest place in the world, like country? What scares you the most, like thinking about going there?
First thing that comes to mind is Papua New Guinea.
Ooh.
Because they still practice cannibalism there. And the Papua New Guinea warriors, like the tribal warriors.
Aren't they called mud?
Like the mud people, I think?
The mudmen or something?
Mudmen, yeah. Have you seen that, like the mudmen?
I've seen about it. I've heard that.
Like,
you want to describe it?
Their masks, okay, they just wear a loincloth. And they are covered in like white ash and mud, and they have these helmets made out of clay.
It kind of looks like Tommy Pickles from the Rugrats, like a huge head. You know what I mean? Like a huge ball in their head.
Yeah. And
no eyes, gaping like a hole for a mouth.
Yeah, it's terrifying because
It's
they
all
also
white.
wear like these bamboo slats on their fingers. I don't know what they do with it.
Each of their fingers look like 10 inches long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
And combining that with their cannibalism practices. Like, Papua New Guinea is violent. I had a friend who's from New Zealand, and he played professional rugby. And they traveled to Papua New Guinea to play their team there. Mm-hmm. And he said when they pulled up to the stadium, it was like going to like a correctional facility. Like, when they opened the doors to the bus, it was like a covered fence.
Like an entrance walkway?
Yeah, you know how like walking to like a jail.
So
like,
they had to pull into that like enclosure and lock the gates and stuff.
Yeah, and and like people were outside, and they were just
like
they're probably just like angry sports fans and hated them because they were from New Zealand, and New Zealand's good at rugby. But yeah, he said it was like, it felt like there were cops like guarding them like everywhere they went.
Yeah,
and he said like he felt scared just being in that country.
I lived with a couple Papua New Guineans, and I talked to some dudes who lived there for a couple years. And everything I've heard about Papua New Guinea is essentially there's like one main town, and that's the only town foreigners are allowed to go to. It's like their main port, Port Moresby. Other than that, it's a huge country. You cannot go there if you are not Papua New Guinean, because you will be killed. You will be eaten. So they have headhunters there. They shrink heads. And cannibalism's still a real thing there. I had an answer for the scariest place, but you just changed mine. I'll talk about mine, but more on Papua New Guinea. I knew a guy who lived there for a while. He was doing like a service trip with this church there. And he's from New Zealand as well. He was super dark complexion, so he was allowed to go there and do that service trip with his church. And he said while in Papua New Guinea, walking home from church one day, one of the members pulled up in a van and opened it up and offered them a ride home. They got in the member of the church, the local congregation, they got in his car, and he pulled out a homemade gun and robbed him and his friend.
A homemade gun?
Yeah, and then left them in the jungle.
What?
So I actually met this kid in Australia. So he was doing his like service trip with the church in Papua New Guinea, but something happened to him and they had to emergency transfer him to Australia. And he never told me this story, but someone who was really close to him told me what happened. Basically, him and his friend who were on this service trip, when you're in Papua New Guinea, you have to be with a Papua New Guinean at all times. That makes sense. And while they were out, they got kidnapped by a group of men. They took them out into the jungle at gunpoint, and they kept them around the fire. And so for like 3 days, they trekked up into the jungle because they were going to go back to their camp. And basically, they were going to kill them. And like eat them or, try to get them for money. And one night, all the men got drunk, and he's a huge Tongan kid, right? So all the men are drunk, they're guarding him, and their guard, he said he just felt like their guard was down. So he looked at his companion, and he's like, we have to fight or we're going to die. And so he gets up, and they have guns. And he said he just tackled the nearest Papua New Guinean who was holding a gun but not paying attention, and just started smashing him in his face. And his Papua New Guinean ran over and tried to grab the gun from the guy while they're on the ground, gets the gun, turns and goes, and shoots like 3 of the other guys.
Holy.
And by this time, everyone in the camp is all alerted. And so there's yelling, and they just take off running. And he said they ran for like 3 days getting hunted by these guys. And he finally got back to the compound. But he said there was like moments in the jungle where they were like 100 feet away running with guns and yelling. And he just had to keep going. But he was a rugby player too, so he could run. And he's big. They got him back to the compound. He got back to safety where like the church met. And they flew him to Australia. And he had to meet with a therapist every week and because he killed a dude.
That's unreal.
But Papua New Guinea terrifies me. The culture's so
It just feels
different.
lawless out there.
Did you ever see that clip of the guy who was talking to a Papua New Guinea guerrilla fighter?
Mm-mm.
So this badass like ex-Marine who's now a reporter, he got a special interview with a Papua New Guinea guerrilla leader.
Whoa.
And while he gets there, they decide to rob him. And so a masked Papua New Guinea dude comes out and sticks a rifle in his face. And they're filming. And he just like bats it away like 3 times. He's like, you're not going to do this. What are you doing? And bats the gun away a couple times. It's like, what are you doing?
The ex-Marine dude?
You're not going to shoot me. Grabs it, pulls it down, and like walks up to the guy. You're not going to shoot me right now. We're not doing this right now. And just like shuts it down, dude. But like how he handled the situation, I don't know how it worked, but like diffused everything. And he just continued the interview.
Damn.
But I think they respected him. Because he like straight face looked at him. He's like, you're not doing this right now. And like put the gun down. And the guy like kept trying to put the gun in his face. And he's like, nope, we're not doing this right now. We're doing an interview. But it's wild. You can look it up. It's on YouTube.
At what point does like asserting dominance, like when is that smart? When is it not?
Bro, this actually reminds me of something. Had you ever, as a kid, see the movie The Big Green?
Heck yeah.
So I always remember as a kid, like the goalie is like in the goal, and all of a sudden the opposite team's turned into something like
pirates.
like pirates
Yes,
or like
yes.
knights or something. And then one of his friends, like, well, first of all, he like freaks out.
This
every
is a
time.
kid with like he's a ginger with the curly hair and like hella freckles.
Yeah.
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 He's also
almost
in the
tan because of his
Sandlot.
freckles.
I'm happy because this is like the first time you're talking about a movie in the podcast, and I've seen it. I've seen it. Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Okay, so then he like freaks out whenever he sees the other team turn into like monsters and they score on him. So one of his friends comes over, he gives him these magic glasses, and he tells him, when they turn into the nightmare, just become the nightmare.
Ooh.
And so that's like what reminds me of like asserting dominance, and that's kind of maybe in my own effed up way, like I don't get scared because I'm like, I don't care, dude. I'm gonna f these people up.
You turn into the nightmare.
Just become the nightmare for them too.
It's kind of true though. Like if you think about my homie who was taken captive, he realized at one point, if I don't turn into the nightmare, if I don't do something, we're dead. You know? So when faced with that, it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Makes sense to me. That's how I live my life now.
Yeah, I'm good at never going to Papua New Guinea my entire life.
Yeah, me too.
What about you guys? Scariest place?
I was going to say, okay, so Papua New Guinea straight up changed my mind. That's my new answer. But I was going to say India.
Ooh.
For some reason, and I think I know why. I think I know the origins of this, but I've had like India's always been so different to me than in my culture. So it just seems so mysterious and like there's dark old ways there. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And I think that honestly stems from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Because that was like my favorite movie when I was little. And that Kali Ma heart, that scared me.
Wild.
Kali Ma.
Well, that one documentary, Tales by Light on Netflix about
Oh, yeah.
photographers.
Solid.
Yeah, when they're in India, like it's normal to them. That's their culture.
Yeah.
But to us, it's just so foreign.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which makes sense. But it's like that one where they wash and burn dead bodies in the river, and people are like
Same place
showering in
they-
it.
yeah,
Like that's
drink
so
from
scary
it.
to me. Yeah. Are you done with India?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean, though? Like, there's just such dark, deep, like black magic in my mind there.
Yeah.
And I think it is because of Temple of Doom. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
I don't know if it probably changed. I have no idea. But Colombia.
Depends on where you go. I know a couple girls who were just in Colombia.
Yeah.
Medellin.
That
But,
used to
like-
be that, and like Bogota used to be. I mean, those are the big cities, right?
Yeah.
So just like thinking about the cartel,
Hmm.
they were all ruthless. I mean, that was more in the 80s, but I just think of like how they tortured people. I think I think about like the Colombian necktie.
Oh,
For those of you out there, like Colombian necktie, they would like slit your neck and then pull your tongue out of your neck to hang out and make it look like a necktie. And that was one thing.
good.
That's wild.
That's extra, bro.
That's so crazy. What a statement.
Once again, if you're gonna give me a Columbia necktie, just tell me that, and I'll give you.
I'll
Whatever
give you
want.
whatever you
don't have
want,
to do
dude.
that. Yeah, we don't need to do all that.
You don't need to set an example.
bro. Just
I'll
tell
tell
people.
everyone.
Yeah.
I'll tell everyone you did,
I'm good at Photoshop. I'll make it look like you did.
and then I'll disappear.
Yeah, let me go. I'll run away.
I definitely think that both of like all of those places are sketch. The one that came to my mind though was Russia, because
How'd I
like
forget?
because like it's lawless in a different way, dude. Like there's the I don't know, the image or the facade of law that exists there, but really like they can do whatever the fuck they want.
It's lawless all the way to the top.
yeah,
Like all of them are corrupt.
yeah.
You hear about people like whistleblowing or trying to expose Putin for something, and they just disappear.
Oh yeah.
You never hear of them again.
Oh yeah.
It's like organized lawlessness.
Yeah, and just a toughness that comes from
That's
cold
true.
winters and a lot of vodka intake, and that's crazy. No, mine for sure now is Papua New Guinea.
I kind of agree with that as well. Just because like I would still travel to Russia.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't know if I would travel to Papua.
There's
I would
nothing
never
to see
go
in
there.
Papua New Guinea.
Except it's beautiful.
Yeah, but it's Southeast Asia-ish, Melanesia, whatever.
Dude,
you can see that in Tonga, Samoa, Bali
There's a lot of places you can see something similar without the danger of being killed.
head
Yeah.
hunted.
And this might be going too far, but have y'all ever heard of the Seaman Warriors?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That's in Papua New Guinea. So what they think is real and is good, the Seaman Warriors is a tribe of people in Papua New Guinea, and they believe to make a strong,
yes.
good fighter is to pump little boys full of as much semen as they can intake through their butt, mouth, or everything. So they take little boys and just make them, do things to procure semen as much as physically possible.
That's terrible, dude.
Yeah. And they think that makes them grow old and strong and become good fighters. So anywhere where that's going on, I'm not sure I want to
Be around
frequent.
that.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to vacation there. But if that's your thing, go for it.
Yeah. Do it for the gram, though. People are out there going, trying to do that for the gram.
All y'all travelers out there on Instagram, pretend like you traveling.
Yeah, you really want to
Go
travel?
to PNG.
You want to experience? You want a real experience?
Not all those who wander are lost. All right, boys. Catch you at that Seaman Warrior camp.
For that one, I'm actually namaste in bed.
All right, let's roll. Let's see who goes first. So DJ rolled an 8.
Dog, that's a 6. You need some glasses, bro.
Charlie gets a 20.
I rolled a 1.
Awesome. All right, so last time we did our stories, I kind of gave y'all a clue. And that clue was ça passe.
Nabule.
Yeah. And that means what's up or how you doing in Haitian Creole. So this week I have some stories that are coming to us out of the island of Haiti in the Dominican Republic. So Haiti's super rich, a culturally rich place. A lot going on. It's pretty tumultuous. And my family we have kind of a background history with Haiti. So Haiti is an island in the Caribbean, and it's like one island split in half. So on one side is Haiti, and on the other side is the Dominican Republic. And if any of you know anything about Haiti, Haiti is the birthplace of voodoo. Right? And so do you want to talk a little bit about background of voodoo?
I mean, I just looked up a lot of information on voodoo. There's obviously the Haitian version of voodoo, but also there's the New Orleans version of voodoo.
Okay.
There's hoodoo, and obviously that all comes. Obviously, I don't know if this is very obvious, but this comes from Western Africa. That's kind of where it originated, and voodoo became this mixture of religions, essentially.
Okay. So it started in Western Africa.
That's where it originated.
And then my understanding is that started in Africa, came to Haiti, and really popped off.
Yeah, so in Western Africa, it's not necessarily voodoo. It was stuff like juju,
Okay.
and stuff in Western Africa that were other religions.
So they kind of mixed it all up in Haiti.
Yeah, it all became one thing.
So what is the point of voodoo then in Haiti?
And is it inherently evil?
Voodoo,
Or is there
not.
a good side to it?
Voodoo itself is not. It's a religion. It's a protected religion in Haiti. It's and this can be said for any type of religion or group of people or anything. Is there will be good people, there will be bad people,
True.
and the bad people are usually those who stand out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the voodoo kind of
Gets that negative connotation.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's any group has its extremists, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah.
But in and of itself, it's not bad. It's kind of like your relationship with the deities and beings that are unseen in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And the fear of voodoo itself didn't even begin with voodoo in Haiti. It kind of began around the 1800s when the Haitians won their revolution.
So they probably demonized it when they won their revolution to kind of suppress them.
Yeah, to kind of say this is why they won.
Okay.
And then on top of that, you got places like Hollywood that started making movies about how voodoo is evil and voodoo has all of these things about it that accentuated that.
So Yeah, like with everything, there is the good and bad. And I guess today we're going to talk a little bit about the bad. But okay, so like my family's background with Haiti is in like 2004, my dad worked to put together a nonprofit organization, and him and my aunt got together and put this plan together. Basically, they were going to go down to Haiti and they were going to help orphanages take care of orphan children. And my dad funded this thing. So my dad asked my aunt, and my aunt took her 2 daughters, and they went down to Haiti. And at first they were so a little bit about Haiti. Haiti's super known for voodoo, and it's also super known for its homelessness in children. So the culture there is people like just abandon their kids left and right. And Haiti is constantly in a state of turmoil, political turmoil. And so you'll go into neighborhoods and there will be like 30 homeless kids from the ages of like 0 to 11. And they'll just be bands of kids like protecting each other and stuff. So this might be jumping the gun a little, but just to express how prevalent abandoning your kids was, one of my now cousins, when he was like 4, his mom didn't want him anymore. She couldn't support 2 kids. So she put him in a car when he was sleeping, drove him like 30 miles to the nearest big city, and left him on the street and went home.
Holy cow.
So he spent the next week trying to be alive and get home. And he finally gets home. And when he walks in the door, his older sister was like, "You can't be here. Mom doesn't want you." And he's like, he's bawling because he's a kid. He's a child. And he's like, "I just want to come home. I just want to come home." And she's like, "You can't be here." And mom comes home. So he hides under the bed. And mom comes home and finds out he had come home. So she goes and like beats the hell out of him. And then puts him in the car, drives him further, drops him off. And he never went back. And that's like, that's normal.
Because it's like, yeah, like here, that happens in the States, but it's very like under the radar, underground. Like you don't, like it doesn't happen obviously as much.
Yeah, that's
but like
the
there,
rarity.
it's like, yeah, it's every day.
Every single one of my cousins from Haiti has a story like that. You know what I mean? It's prevalent. So my aunt gets down there and they meet a guy named Michael. And Michael's working with another nonprofit organization from America, like a American Christian organization or something. And so he's being funded by US dollars. And he has opened up an orphanage and he has all these groups. He has this huge group of kids at his orphanage. And so my aunt meets him. He kind of shows my aunt the ropes and like, this is what you do. This is how you take care of people, right? So like I said, the original plan was they were just going to go work in the orphanages. And it was working with kids ranging from newborns to 10 to 11, because if you're older than that, you get sold into like sex slavery, or you get sold as like a high-end maid to like richer people. And so my dad sent my aunt down to Port-au-Prince down in Haiti. They meet Michael. Michael starts showing them the ropes, right? And they're like working with Michael. They're helping out in the orphanages. And then one day, a group of about 10 of the boys, they come and they meet. My dad bought this home down in Haiti. Mm-hmm. And so 10 of the boys from Michael's like orphanage come to my aunt and my cousins, and they're like, "We need to talk. We need to tell you the truth about Michael." And they're like, what's going on? And they're like, he's a bad man. And basically, Michael had been molesting or raping every single orphan in the entire orphanage. And this is being funded by the U.S. The U.S. have no idea they're funding this rapist down there.
Oh.
So he's getting all these kids off the street, and he's like taking advantage of all of them. Every single one of them.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. And so the second my aunt hears that, she said, "Nope. Get everyone in that orphanage, and you are all coming to live in this home." So that started like a war with this guy. So most of their efforts was like trying to protect all of these street boys from Michael. And so from that day, they all moved into my aunt's house. But that's just kind of like that's what it was like down there.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of civil unrest. You can't go outside when it's election day because everyone's rioting.
That's so infuriating. And it's infuriating as well because it's like, you can't, what do you do? You can't do anything about it. Just like let it happen. It's like I feel guilty at the same time. Just sucks.
So my aunt was there for a really long time, like years. She was there for years, came back to the States for a while, went back for a couple more years. And she eventually had to leave because it got so bad that, like, if you were not Haitian, they would kill you. This is going on. They're doing a lot of good work with the orphanages, my aunt. Mm-hmm. And my aunt had several run-ins with voodoo. And just by living there and being immersed in the culture, she's learning the language and just traditions from years of living there. She hears all these stories. And so I called her on the phone, and the way she talked about it, people there believe it 100%. And it's just as prevalent, it's so entrenched there that it's on the news. Like a lot of the news stories in Haiti. She said she remembered one time watching the news, and the whole story was about how all these these voodoo instances, and they're talking about it like it's fact, right? Mm-hmm. Or when she would go to church, the bishop was like, he would blame things on voodoo. So I'll tell my sister's experience. So my sister is getting ready to go down to Haiti, and before she goes down, one of her friends is like, "Hey, have you ever seen that movie about like voodoo in Haiti?" She's like, what movie are you talking about? And it's called Serpent in the Rainbow. And it's a Wes Craven movie from 1988.
It's like a documentary or a movie?
No, it's a movie.
Okay.
It's like scripted, but it's based off true events.
Okay.
Dude, Wes Craven is the same guy who does like Scream.
Yeah.
He does The Nightmare on Elm Street. Like he's got a lot of
he's a
scary
classic
movies.
Horror director.
Yeah.
I like his style too.
Yeah.
So basically the story of Wes Craven's Serpent in the Rainbow, and I've seen a little bit of it, and it creeped me out before I knew anything about Haiti, right? And it's about like these voodoo priests who, what they can do is they put a spell on you, and you appear dead, 100% dead. No pulse, no sign of life. You could burn your arm, and you wouldn't react.
That's some David Blaine right there.
For sure.
Okay, Sean just looked up the promotional poster for Wes Craven's The Serpent and the Rainbow. There's like this, we'll put it up on the gram, but there's like this kid with a white face and like a red cross stained on his head. And I'm not trying to,
oh my god,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but basically they have the power to do that to you. So you'd appear dead, and they'd bury you, and you'd die in the grave.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So just like Expelliarmus or Stupefy.
Yep.
Or both.
Yep.
Into one spell.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's not what kills you. What kills you is they bury you alive.
Yeah.
And then the big dead comes.
So they showed Brittany this days before she flies down to Haiti, and she's like getting on the plane like thanks, dudes.
I would if they buried me alive. I can't move. I was gonna say I would like cross my arms and just like stick out both of my middle fingers so that when they found my body,
I would exit my
it's
bowels.
like my last my last message to them.
Anyway, so needless to say, she's like, sick. I'm flying down to this island. Dope.
Can I not go anymore?
So, but she gets there. She loves the work. She's like immediately, just her heart melts because she sees, she gets to see how people's real life is when you don't grow up in a place like America, And so she's into it. A couple months into it, she loves the culture. She loves the people, and she loves working in orphanages. And one day, her and a huge group of the boys, and they're trying to get to this place in the city. And so she's like at the back of the group, and they're walking through all these markets. Mm-hmm. And she starts seeing all this stuff that looks really cool. So she's like staying behind and just checking stuff out. And without realizing it, she becomes completely separate from the markets. So she's alone in the markets. And she looks down this one aisle of like tents and stands. And at the end, she sees this one stand that like catches her attention. And it's like in the back of this little aisle.
That's cinematic, bro.
So she goes back there to this one tent. She says she walks up, there's all these shells hanging, turtle shells. And on the table, there are 100% authentic, real life voodoo dolls.
Whoa.
She says she picks these up, these voodoo dolls, and they come with pins already in them.
Nah, bro.
And they have real human hair that's sewn into their head their armpits and their like genital area. Like sew in real human hair. And she's like picking one up and she's looking at it and she's like, what the heck? And she sets it down. All of a sudden she feels someone grab her arm from behind and yank her. And she turns around and it's one of my cousins, one of the Haitian boys.
Yeah, yeah.
And she sees his face, his eyes are wide, and he's like, run! And he just pulls her, and they start sprinting away. And they run, and he flags down a taxi, or a tap-tap, that's what they call them. And he like throws her in, jumps in with her, and they take off. And so she's like...
Where's the rest of the group?
They had walked, like kept walking.
They're just gone.
Yeah. So what happened was, she's like talking to him, she's dazed, and like
what's going on?
Overheated, it's super hot. She just sprinted with her life and gets in it. And she's like, what's going on? And he's like, I noticed you had left the group and I went back to look for you. And he said what he saw while she was holding the voodoo doll was he saw a voodoo priest. And he knows what a voodoo priest is because when he was a baby, his grandparents would take him to voodoo rituals and they would use him in voodoo rituals, like sexually.
So he just grew up with all that, and
So he knows.
yeah.
He said he saw a voodoo priest come out from behind the stand and standing behind my sister, Brittany, and he was chanting, and he had these turtle shell like shaker thing that he was shaking, and his eyes were like rolling back, and he was like chanting under his breath, putting a spell on her.
Hell no.
So he
dude.
ran up and grabbed her and like got her out of there. And so she's like, if it wasn't for him, she could have been rainbow serpented, stuck in the ground.
Whatever, dude. It's too late. He slipped on through real quick.
She said she was like terrified.
Did anything else happen as a result of that experience, or was that the one thing?
Yeah.
Did she notice anything crazy?
No, she said that was like the most crazy thing. There was always just like weird things happening, weird noises in the night. Because in Haiti, there's no street lights. At night, when it's night, it's dark. And if you don't know Haitians are dark. You know what I mean? So it's like when the night goes down, weird things would happen all the time. So just to wrap up a little bit of like Brittany's experience and my sister's experience, eventually what they did was they went to the U.S. Embassy to try to like report Michael and try to get help shutting him down because he's out there like molesting children and he's funded by the U.S. But because it's basically the wild freaking West down there, they didn't get a lot of support. But a couple years later, during one of their political, he actually got thrown into prison.
Michael did.
Yeah, Michael was thrown into prison in Haiti.
Good.
And so he went to jail for a while. But during like a weird revolt, this is before the Haitian earthquake, he escaped prison. And so they have no idea where he is. So he's still down there possibly.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway.
So your sister had that. How long was your sister in Haiti?
Not too long. I think like 6
Few
months.
months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your aunt, how long was her whole operation?
So I can't remember precisely, but I'm going to say somewhere around 8
Few
years.
years? Oh, 8 years?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like a long ass time.
Okay.
So my aunt, obviously she's there forever. So she had bought this house, or my dad bought this house and like funded this operation. She's living in this home and she brings in all these boys. She's trying to save from Michael. And two of my now cousins.
Okay, wait, sorry, real quick. While she was doing this, did Michael know what she was trying to do?
It was a full on war. Like he would, it was dangerous. They had to do things secretly. They had to hide. They had to like watch out for Michael. And like some of the boys in Michael's side were loyal to Michael.
So she couldn't get enough evidence from those things to like get the support to take him off of his whatever.
I think it was just like how they explained it is they tried to get a case together against him. They went to the U.S. Embassy, tried everything they could, and they couldn't get him shut down because it was just like, the government there is, they can barely feed or keep the infrastructure together, so they don't care about this one American who might be taking advantage of some street kids because they don't care about street kids. So, yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah. It was intense. I remember I was actually supposed to go down there and visit and when I turned 16, but by the time I got old enough, it was like too dangerous for anyone to travel in. So I didn't, but I almost went. But so my aunt is like dealing with all this, and two of my Haitian cousins, their background is in voodoo. So like I said, one of them, the grandparents, really into voodoo, and their daughter had a son, but their daughter was not into voodoo. So without her permission, they would take the baby and they would take him to voodoo rituals, and they would like perform sexual things on him in voodoo rituals. So there is good to voodoo, and it started as a religion, but there's a lot of bad in voodoo too. And it might have a different name than voodoo or like hoodoo, but things are happening where people are, doing bad rituals. So that was his background. Another one of them, when he was young, his grandparents got him to start playing drums for a voodoo priest. And the mom didn't like that. And when she found out, she took his hands and put them on the stove and burnt them so bad that he couldn't play drums anymore. Because she was like, I'm not having that.
I mean, I feel like maybe talking to him would be a better like first option than straight to the stove.
I know. It's just like such a different culture there. Like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just so sad.
I'm never playing drums again.
So my aunt is actually convinced the house that they bought was right up against a voodoo house, like in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And so one night she said she's like sleeping super hot at night, and she can hear drumming. She can hear people in this yard, and then it goes quiet, right? So she's like, okay. 20 minutes later, the backyard is like this long grass area, right? And her bed, the window right behind her, it's like right behind the window is that yard. And all of a sudden, she could hear like 4 dogs barking, like they're trying to kill something, like super aggressive, right? Just, and it's at one end of the yard. And she said, as all of a sudden, super abrupt, silent. And so she's laying there in bed. She heard that. And then at the opposite end of the yard, it goes, the dogs start barking. Mid-bark, silence. And so she was, a couple more times it happened. And she's just in this dark house. No street lights, dark. And she could see out the window. And she said all of a sudden, a pillar of fire goes up into the air, 30 feet, and it's like green. And then, whoosh, gone. And so she was like that. She knew voodoo was going on around him. One time, she's sleeping in her bed. And across the room, my cousin's in her bed. And all of a sudden, my cousin goes, and sits straight up in her bed. And my aunt looks over, and then all of a sudden, sits up in her bed. Because she felt what she describes as like a boa constrictor slither under the middle of her back. And she looks over at her cousin who's looking at her and sat straight up and is like, did you just feel that? And she's like, yeah. And my aunt, super logical and science. So as I'm asking her about this, she was like, later I just decided that was a rolling earthquake. And I was like, located in the middle of your bed? Like, what? How does that work? What are you talking about? And she was like, yeah, it must have just been an earthquake. And I was like, dude, I don't know.
And this is after that green pillar of fire.
How did she explain that?
Minas Morgul shiz going on. It's like,
well, she said like they like during the voodoo like rituals they would do weird things with fire.
Okay, so that was voodoo. The other was an earthquake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. She's like, well, yeah.
Bro, if I lived in Haiti, I would do voodoo too. There ain't nothing else. Ain't
You
nothing
can't
else
beat
to
'em,
do.
join them,
Nightmare.
dog. Yeah. Where do I sign up? So orientation starts when? When do I get my drum and my...
Gotta get your merit badges
Turtle
first. Your boa constrictor merit badge. Your
Yeah, so-
fire tower merit badge.
But she did tell me she felt like she was targeted. Like she felt like they were targeting her, right? And something that everyone in Haiti is terrified of is this thing called a loup-garou. Lugaroo. a Luguru. And what a Luguru is an evil witch. And everyone is terrified of Lugurus. They all have Luguru stories. So sometimes it would get way too hot in the house for my aunt. And she's like, let's sleep on the they had like a deck in the backyard. So they'd sleep out there with some of the babies because it was an orphanage. And all the older boys were so upset every time because they were convinced 100% that a Luguru was going to come and steal the babies. Because that's what Lugurus do. They target babies and children and they take them away and they do, voodoo rituals to them. So the boys were like near tears trying to convince my aunt, like, don't take these babies out there. They're going to get snatched by Lugurus. She's like, it's fine. Like, she didn't believe in Lugurus at all. And that was actually one of the things. So they're sitting in church and one of the local women in the church congregation had lost a baby. And the bishop, like the head of the church, got up on the stand and was like, oh, we're so sorry for the loss of so-and-so's child. It must have been a Luguru who took her. And they were and she pulled him aside.
Everyone else was like, yeah.
And everyone in the congregation was
Nodding
like,
their
yeah,
head.
it must be. And they're all terrified. And my aunt's like, took him aside later and was like, Lugurus are not real. Like, and so they believe in Lugurus so much. It's akin to like the Salem witch trials. So during my aunt's stay in Haiti, she met a Catholic priest. And by the time she met him, he had left the monastery. So he went to Haiti and was at a Catholic monastery down in Haiti. And he left the church because of a lot of the things he saw down there. And he kept a journal of all of his experiences. And he gave that journal to my aunt.
Why? Just because he trusted her? Or...
I don't know. And she says, I don't know why he gave me this thing. But for some reason, the time that they met, the conversations they had, he like, I want to give this to you. And gave her this freaking book of his like weird encounters with voodoo and stuff down in Haiti. Like the reason he left his faith, he gave it to my aunt. And she's like, I'm talking to her so casually. She's like, I mean, I think I have it somewhere. I'll look for it. And I was like, yeah, if you find that, let me know.
Send that over.
But my other aunt went down there and started translating this little journal. Mm-hmm. And she said she only got through one story. And that basically was he had gone out to this village way out in the middle of nowhere. And this woman had 2 kids. And somehow... And like I kind of mentioned before, this is kind of akin to like the Salem witch trials. But somehow this woman gets accused of being a Luguru, and everyone in the village turns on her. She has 2 small kids. And they go to her house at night, and they light it on fire, and they chase her out of town, her and her kids. Just because someone said she might be a Luguru. Mm-hmm. So they're like serious about it. So Lugurus are, like I said, witches, and they can shapeshift. I'm sorry. So the most common thing they change into is cats, and then they steal babies.
Bro, that sounds like the freaking Scooby-Doo monster zombie island, bro.
True.
Just straight up cats turn people to zombies.
Dude, and that's in the South, so they probably like took a bit of it.
It's probably something related.
Dang.
Did you have any more? I know you. Okay, I know you have more.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue?
I'll just kind of wrap up my aunts, and then I'll share one more after you. So my aunt was down there forever, went through a huge ordeal, and my dad, helped her throughout the whole thing. What ended up happening was she adopted 9 Haitian boys. And when they got to the U.S., they lived in my home for about a year. So I lived with these boys, these Haitian boys. Mm-hmm. And they went to my high school for a while. And it was just crazy. Like, I'm thankful for it because I was young and I, at a very young age, like saw how different life can be. And there's no reason why I wasn't born in Haiti and they weren't born here. You know what I mean? So it was interesting. Yeah, I have a lot of stories. Like one time they were in high school and someone made them mad. So they went home and got a machete and tried to come back and take care of them. And my aunt was like, no. Like, this ain't Haiti. We can't do that.
That's wild. Yeah. Actually, one of the girls who came to Jackson Hole this past weekend, she was telling me a bunch of her stories.
Ooh.
And
I love that. I love when you find someone and it's like you don't know, that they're into that. And then like once you like break the ice, and all of a sudden it's just like bang, 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 you're trading stories. That's my favorite.
It's interesting how scary stories is something that people can connect on real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you have to get to know someone first before you can talk about religion or
Yeah.
politics.
But scary stories transcend all that.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, she shared a bunch of her stories with me, and
Was this like in the ride up to Jackson Hole?
yeah.
Dude, I love...
Or in the cabin while you were staying.
I told them, I was like, should we save this for when we're in the cabin?
Uh-huh.
And they were all like, no, let's tell it now while it's daytime, which is fun.
I love road trip story time, though.
Yeah, dude. She just shared about how this is about a year or two ago, but she took a work trip with some of her coworkers up to Tennessee, and they stayed at an Airbnb. And while they were there, she was in the living room. There's a bookshelf. She just grabs a random book. She takes it out, and it's like a children's book. As she opens it, a piece of paper falls out.
Dude.
Oh, fuck.
From the back cover. She picks it up, and it's a kid's handwriting. And all it says is, "This place is haunted. Get out."
Oh.
Yeah, so that was the first thing. Like, that was the first book that she pulled out, and that paper just fell out.
Even if that was a plant, like a funny joke, maybe by the owner of the house, it's like you can't orchestrate her picking that book first.
Also, why did she assume it was a child's handwriting? Like, was it in crayon or something? Or?
I didn't ask her if it was a crayon or pen, but...
Okay.
I'm sure there was a reason, though, if she said...
There has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the first creepy thing that happened. So that kind of just set them off for their whole time there.
Mm-hmm.
The next night, she was washing dishes after dinner, and the way the house was situated, on the other side of the kitchen and the sink was the bedroom. So there's nothing in between. But as she is washing dishes, she heard something in the walls. She's like, "What is that?" So she turns off the sink, and she tells all of her coworkers to be quiet and listen. And as they listen closer, they can hear a she describes it as scratching. They're like, "That's really weird," especially since there's nothing in between the kitchen and the bedroom. It happens again later that night, but it's louder. And then she hears hissing and meowing. And not only is it in between the kitchen and the bedroom, but it's in the walls all around them. Like just scratching on the walls and like hissing like a cat. And they stayed in the house, but that's all she could describe it. It just reminded me of that when...
Was she the only one that had experiences in the house, or was there any of the other people that were with her?
No, they all heard it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she wasn't the only one. But it just reminded me of...
The dogs?
No, the dude with the turtle shell. Like, behind your sister with the... Like, casting a spell on her.
Yeah.
No, you said they were in Tennessee, like Great Smoky Mountains, Tennessee?
I have no idea.
Or,
it was just in an Airbnb. That's all she told me.
There's some spooky places out there, so...
Isn't there like an insane underground cave system over there?
Oh, yeah. Like, you have mammoth caves out there. You have tons of cave systems out there that people go to. Yeah.
Have you ever been in any of them out there?
Yeah, I've been to mammoth caves. It's huge. Like, they'll take you on a tour, and...
What was it like?
It was surreal. Like, you're like, this is a different planet that I'm on right now. And at one point, they're like, hey, we're going to turn off all of the lights. They turn off all the lights, and I'm like, holding my pockets just in case someone tries to steal something.
Because it's that pitch black?
You can't see anything. Nothing.
And did they take you just like to an entrance in the ground, or how'd you get in? Like, what was it like?
There's an entrance in the ground, yeah. But, like, there's that kind of stuff that goes on out there, and especially the Great Smoky Mountains, just spooky.
Like eerie.
Eerie. Like, not only is the ambiance with the Smoky Mountains there, like, Civil War happening around there. You know, there's hella ghosts just floating around, you know?
Actually, I kind of have a story.
Shoot.
Okay, so this isn't mine. This is one of our good friends. And I don't have his explicit permission to tell this, so I'm going to leave his name out. But he grew up in Vermont. And his mom is from England and his dad is from Australia. And he grew up, well, he moved to Vermont, but he grew up in Australia, right? And the place that they grew up in Vermont, super rural. And there's a big community. So he grew up in Vermont, and the place where he's at, super rural, and there's a big community of Wiccans out there. I think it's like Amish and like witchcraft mixed, where it's like natural gods and like we believe in nature and things like that. I don't know anything about it, but
it sounds like the new Midsummer movie coming up.
Dude, it does. It is like that. Akin,
a mixture of that and the witch, like that kind of area and location.
I really want to talk to them just to make sure I'm not missing any of the details. But them being there, they had moved into this area where there was all Wiccans. And everything I've heard about Wiccans is they're super nice. They love, and like that's what they teach and preach, love, right? But he said when his family moved in, it like really upset their community and they didn't want them there. And so he said things kind of escalated where they made their intentions known that they didn't want them there until they left a note at their house. And in the note, it said, like, basically, we don't want you here. And you will leave. Or we will be having kangaroo meat. And the guy who read that, like one of the local people, he was like, that means they're going to kill your mom. Because they thought his mom was from Australia, but really she was English. But that was a direct threat to the mom, saying, we're going to kill you. And they had to freaking move.
That was like this family moved into a neighborhood. Where was it? It was here in the States.
Yeah.
They moved to a new neighborhood, or like a few days before they moved into the house, they went to go check on a few things. They already signed the paperwork. The house was theirs. There was a letter in the mail for them.
Oh my gosh.
It was from the Watcher. And like this story's already being looked at to be picked up and made into a movie.
By the way, this happened 2 years ago.
It's very recent.
Very recent. Yeah. People have been trying to contact the families like, can we get this story from you
the
guys?
Rights for it?
Yeah, the rights for it so we can like put into a book or movie or something. But yeah, it was signed from the Watcher and he was just telling them, I'm so excited to have you in the neighborhood. It's kind of the opposite, like he wanted them there, but he was like a stalker.
He was like a stalker, and it was the first of many letters, and they referred to the children as like blood bags, young blood or whatever. That the house that they were specifically in was going to like absorb that energy or something like that. It was
he
creepy.
was like, my grandfather watched this house and the family in it from 1920. My father started watching it in 1960, and now it's my turn. And with your family moving in, I'm so excited to have you. When you move in, I will know which room your children are in, which room you are in. I wonder which one it'll be. The basement? If you're in the basement, if the children are in the basement, then you won't be able to hear their screams.
Okay.
If you're in the attic, I can see through the window.
Do they confirm it's a dude? It sounds like a guy.
They don't actually know who it is.
That's the thing.
So
it's unsolved. They've never found out.
It's cold case.
Yeah, they never found out who it was.
Did anyone die?
Nobody died.
Okay.
They ended up, after they moved into the house, but they didn't bring their kids for a little while. Like they left their kids with, I don't know, their parents or something.
Grandma,
grandpa, yeah. But when they finally brought him over, he was like, oh, it looks like, they received another letter. It was like, oh, it looks like this child loves to paint. And just crazy, dude. They ended up moving out and selling the house.
Yeah, I think. Because it all sounded like it could just be a creepy guy up until he made that like kind of threat. And then I would have been like, okay, nope, not doing that.
There was one letter he sent to, I can't remember the details around it, but they had just taken the kids out. This was after the letter where he referenced one of the kids liking to paint. And they took the kids and took them out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And then he sent a letter that was very aggressive.
So he started to escalate?
He started to escalate and like make threats toward them. And yeah, it was creepy.
And where'd you guys hear that?
It was on this
TV
documentary.
show
Yeah.
called Unsolved.
Dude, shout out Unsolved.
Amazon Prime.
Dude, that is creepy. That'd be interesting to see if they like break anything on it. You know, I'm sure there's like Reddit investigators out on the case.
There's a whole subreddit dedicated to that. There's one called, or not like solving it, but there's one called Unresolved Mysteries
Or
Unsolved Mysteries.
And so they try to solve them and
It's
stuff.
a wormhole, dude. Yeah,
It's crazy what they can do.
There's like a dark side of Reddit too. After the Boston Marathon bomber, everyone thought it was this one person, and they put his name out, and everyone was like, "Get him, Reddit."
They probably got like or what's that called? Terms swatted.
Well, they on the internet they call it a witch hunt,
Oh, true.
and witch hunting is like a rule in a lot of subreddits. It's like anything that has to do with witch hunting will be immediately
So if
removed
it's
by
like,
the
get
moderators.
this guy,
Yeah,
everyone go get him.
yeah, and that was like one of the big things that changed the culture in Reddit too. With that guy that they thought it was, people were sending him threats and all these things. He ended up committing suicide, and then they found out it wasn't him. And everyone on Reddit was like, "Damn,
That's probably when
we
they
gotta
cracked
like
down
step
on it.
back." Like, and nah. But there have been times where they have been right,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: if you believe in the justice system, innocent until proven guilty, right? So just chill and wait till the evidence comes, and then do your thing.
Everyone wants to be a hero or a vigilante, and doesn't always work out like how it does in the movies. Surprisingly.
Life's not a movie.
What?
But with that, thanks for letting me share that heck a long story.
No, dude, it was engaging.
Cool.
No, it really was.
Hopefully, it like made sense and was coherent.
Was that it from your aunt though?
That was it for my aunt, and I have one more story to do with that, but I'll share another time.
Okay.
So once again, you guys already know the drill, but we'd love to hear from you. Eventually, I'm going to run out of stories, so we're going to need you guys to send in some good ones. We've already gotten some pretty interesting ones.
We've shared a lot of personal stories, and next step for us, and we've already kind of started, is researching online.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can hear it from actual people who have been there, those have been personally our favorites.
Yeah.
If you do have any stories for us, send those over to 3 a.m. podcast stories at gmail.com or hit us up in our DMs on 3am.podcast on Insta. No word count.
That's because somebody just asked us, is there a word count? I was like, no, bro, this ain't high school.
It must be
At least 800
double
words.
space.
Yeah.
MLA form.
Times New Roman.
MLA format. Include that bibliography. Don't use easybib.com
You're
either.
going to have to restart.
Anything with Wikipedia on it, we're not accepting.
I see that Comic Sans font. X'd.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks.
See.